Hello, everybody out there on YouTube. We are the three middle-aged guys, and we're bullshitting about nothing. I am the Reverend.
The theme here.
Graymouse 1.
Actually, we're not bullshitting about nothing in this particular video. We're going to continue on our conversation that we started in a previous video about classic cartoons and our objections to the shit that's being offered to kids today as current cartoons. Unlike the previous video, I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit more focused. All right, guys, here's a question for everybody. What is the first cartoon that really kind of got you hooked on to the idea, or really got you into that idea where it was like, fuck, these things, I don't know what they are. They're cartoons. I like them, and they happen at a specific time of day. I'm going to be right there to fucking to watch them. What is like... Tom and Jerry, for you, theme. What about you, Graymouse?
I have to go with Form Blazing Sword Voltron.
I would have to go a little bit earlier than that with Popeye. You know?
Ooh, a little earlier. You're talking about
the thing about it is, as far as I remember, Tom and Jerry is the first cartoon I've ever seen. And I used to watch that, and I used to be dying in front of my damn TV. Like, man, oh man. Everything spoke to me. Not just the music that they were playing, but everything that was going on, from facial expression to a freaking bulldog warning Cat about doing something, and then Mouse would just try to get Cat in trouble. Everything. All of that was just well structured to me, because everything that was going on, I could completely understand. It's, you know, as a 2-year-old, I'm watching and I'm just like, this is just freaking brilliant.
I think one of my favorite Tom and Jerry cartoon episodes
One of your favorites
is the Serenade one. Ain't My Baby. I mean, that stands out to me, and I understand what Jerry was going through. I really did. And I understand what Tom was trying to do. But at the point when, after all the running around and whatnot, and Tom grabbed the bulldog, is talking about, I feel flames and fire, and, you know, and then after it, he realizes it's the bulldog, and he just throws the bulldog on the ground. You know,
no, it was before that. The part that had me dying the most is when Tom ran behind a gate and lifted a brick.
Oh, yeah.
The bulldog turns the corner and he looked. The look he had on his face when he saw the brick up there, like, whoa, he's about to fuck me up. It was the way he stopped and he looked at the brick like, God damn, if I go over there, he's going to slam this thing. He's going to kill me with that thing.
You know, what's funny is that, like I said, one of my earliest memories was of Popeye. And you know, there's a whole thing with like eating your spinach and everything else and all that. But one of the things that I distinctly remember, this would probably kind of set the stage where my mindset has been as well, majority of my life and everything, right? Was that I remember like the first time I saw Popeye actively trying to run away from an opponent, right? It wasn't Bluto, it was Alice the Goon. And because Alice the Goon had a crush on Popeye. And in this particular episode, I remember it was Olive Oil who actually downed the spinach and knocks the crap out of Alice the Goon. But I remember he's running away from this chick, right? Now, granted, you know, I'm a little kid and everything, but the first thing in my mind that I could think as a little kid was like, he's got a girl running after her. What's so bad about that? And this is before I even hit double digits, or I was even in grade school. But yeah, this kind of frames where my focus was at. Like I said in previous videos, you know, this is before video games, so the only thing I was thinking about was like getting into pants with like, you know, with the opposite sex. But yeah, you know, from there were other things that came up, like I had mentioned before, Battle of the Planets, G-Force. The problem with that particular cartoon was that it was only shown literally at like 6 o'clock in the fucking morning.
Ah,
All right,
that
when
was
I
the thing
started
about
jumping
certain
on it, yeah,
cartoons.
it was like, you know, I mean, you sit there, you expect kids to be up at a certain time to go ahead and get ready. Well, back in the day, kids would get up on their own, okay, and it really wasn't to get ready. It was so that they could sit there and watch their early morning cartoons before they were, even while they were eating breakfast or before they were eating breakfast, to go ahead and get ready to go to
Cereal,
bowl of Fruit Loops and sitting there eating that. Yep.
big bowl of cereal, Fruity Pebbles, Corn Pops, whatever it was, Frosted Flakes, whatever it was. You had a bowl of it. Watching cartoons.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and there are things like that. I mean, they're really, really early memories. I know as far as it went, I think I first started realizing like the differences between cartoons around the time 1984 when Voltron came along. Okay, because up until that point, the only thing that I had seen anything similar was many, many, many years ago with Battle of the Planets and G-Force. And then in the interim, you know, the time in between, we had your Looney Tunes and stuff that was offered by Warner Brothers. A lot of stuff that was offered by Walter Lantz with like Woody Woodpecker and other things. Michael and Jekyll. God damn, where did those guys go? Really, that was one of the things that kind of filled in the gap between like the late 70s into the mid 80s for me.
Droopy.
What's up?
Droopy.
Yeah, Droopy. He was all one of the Walter Lantz and, you know, part of Woody Woodpecker and Tom and Jerry and other things. There were other things and that was in there, and then, you know, like around the first time that I had noticed that there was like actual different styles of animation in cartoons was with Voltron, where it was like, this looks really, really different.
Mm-hmm.
There's a different style to not just the way that it's drawn, but also the way that the story is told. And damn it, you know, the first fucking episode, they're sitting there, they're walking around, they're like, oh, the Robies land down. I was thinking to myself, well, all they're going to do is they're going to kick down a few village buildings. You know, up until that point, there really wasn't anything out of place as far as like cartoon violence, right? And, you know, Robies is making its way to the castle, kicking down houses and things. You know, people are running away. Robies looks down, reaches down, grabs a person, and pops him in the mouth. And I was like, oh, he fucking ate him.
You know what, though? The thing is, though, if you watch Voltron, the 80s version, and you actually sit there and watch it nowadays, it doesn't really hold up to where it was back when you were a child.
Yeah.
However,
we talked about
Legendary Defender, watch that. That's all I gotta say.
Well, but see, Legendary Defender pays homage to the 80s series.
And
In Voltron's defense, Voltron does hold up compared to other things.
Well, one thing,
a lot of things from the time, yes.
You were talking about what cartoon, Reverend. You're talking about the cartoon that really influenced you. I would have to say Transformers. I thought that was the neatest thing, that you have these robots in the skies that can, you got these semis that turn into big ass robots. You got these airplanes that can turn into these robots. You got a fucking robot that can turn into a gun. You know, you got all these, you got a robot that can turn into a cassette player. And you got these cassettes, eject coming out.
Oh.
I mean, I was sitting there as a kid. I was like,
oh, okay. I love Transformers, but let's cut the crap cake here. When you finally recognize the composition of these robots turning into small or bigger things, you're like, wait a minute. Because I'm going to ask, where the fuck did Optimus Prime's trailer go when he transforms?
Everybody asked that.
Where did it go?
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew. How did Soundwave spit in Spike's pocket? How did look?
I mean, you got these
questions. What?
Look,
care.
You got these triple changers like Broadside that turn into aircraft carrier, robot, and I forgot his other. Its wing turns into a freaking tank, robot, and an airplane. I mean, as a kid,
Astro Train
about
was
marketing.
Astro Train. The beauty of it is that
Astro
the way
Train
they transformed in the cartoon was exactly how you had to transform them. And
I mean, look, let me just say this. How many people in this room here actually try to transform their fucking toy as fast as it happens on the screen? I'm like, I got it this time. Fuck!
Wait a minute. I used to have a row of Transformers watching. It was kind of difficult within 5 minutes trying to interchange everything because I had Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain. I had Transformers. I had G.I. Joes. My Voltron was always on deck. He was just there with the blazing sword and all. And I would used to try to form the lions as they were doing it on the fucking cartoon. Have them in a row, form feet and legs. Hurry up.
I mean, it was just amazing to see.
I did all of that. Seriously.
Like when they first formed Devastator, and I was hooked. You got these damn Constructicons, 6 robots that form this one big robot. I was like, oh, mind blown. And then, I mean, you got Thundercats. And
you see, even in the Silverhawks, I used to have them, and I used to launch them. I used to do all that, man.
I mean, G.I. Joe. I sat there and I watched G.I. Joe.
Wait. Here's another thing about 80s cartoons, especially the ones that we're naming. Either the plot was named, as far as, or it was described in the theme song while the cartoon was coming on. Yeah. Okay, Transformers, robots in the skies. It described it. Autobots waging battle to destroy the evil forces of Decepticons. Okay, that's all you need to fucking know.
G.I. Joe, for example, against the terrorist Cobra.
I think in general, though, if you think about like programming from back in the day to now, I mean, most primetime shows now don't even have theme songs.
Right.
It's literally like a cold opening right into this scenario where it's going to be like boom, boom, boom. Well, where a lot of the programming is pretty much catered to like, hey, these folks that are watching this have less than a 15-second fucking attention span. If you don't get them into whatever's going on as quickly as fucking possible, they'll change the channel. Now, that's true to an extent, but I really, really miss, not just with cartoons, but with programming in general, that there's no theme song, no jingle anymore. Nothing that you can sit there and, walk down the street. Like, the only thing that I could think of, and people aren't going to fucking be able to recognize it, that has anything close to a theme song for something that's opening up, it might be, I don't know, Law and Order. But who the fuck is going to be seeing that? Well,
you know what, though? I mean, for us, right? I mean, I could sit here and I could start a song. I can start a theme song, and you'll instantly know what that cartoon is. I mean, all you got to do is do the Inspector Gadget. I mean, everybody knows that. Transformers, everybody knows that.
I remember in elementary school.
Everybody knows that.
I remember in elementary school, we actually did that in school. How it was 4 of us that did it, but it was hilarious how it all started. One of the guys started it, then another guy did the same thing. I jumped in and I said, now at this time, everybody's looking at everybody like, where's this coming from? So when it got to the point where we started actually singing it, because the 4th guy said, and then we all started beating on our desks. Inspector Gadget. Now the whole classroom did the whistle. The whole classroom did it. And our teacher, he was just like, you know what? That was so cool. I'm going to let that go. And then he was like, no, wait a minute. Whose idea was that? We pointed at each other. It's like, hey, it was your idea. You started it. It was just hilarious because everybody knew the cartoon. Everybody knew the theme song. And nobody could be like, oh, that theme song is lame. That cartoon is boring. No. You watched it. I mean, Gadget didn't stop one fucking crime. He always thought his fucking dog was a fucking mad agent.
I've always said this, and I'll say it again, is that no matter how stupid Inspector Gadget was, he knew not the coding. You know what I mean? The mission. Because he always, he always
do that. Message was selfish. Poor Chief Quimby.
Well,
he always blew up. I mean, it's just like some of those theme songs are so iconic.
That's another thing too. When you have things like Gadget, or even things like Heathcliff, or even Thundercats is notorious for this. Everybody had a theme song on Thundercats, or a specific moment would happen, and they would have a certain song playing. Mm-hmm. So soundtrack was very important to a lot of cartoons out there.
That's one of the things that I think, like I said, as far as our attention, our ADHD riddled, masses of the generations that we have that they're catering to now, that just kind of fell by the wayside. One of the things that I did see coming up through the 80s and 90s that did look hopeful for a moment, was that there were actually a few cartoons and a few shows that came up that had some sense of overarching continuity. Like we had mentioned earlier, Batman, the animated series. Great. Really long projected overarching continuity. In fact, it continued all the way into the freaking Justice League and beyond. All the way into Batman Beyond, in fact. Gargoyles. Overarching long-term freaking continuity. Up until that point, everything was very, very short form and episodic, and there was a lot of canned animation shit that they had went ahead and they would pre-record with, so that they can get away with not paying animators and not paying voice actors and shit like that, because they had it all pre-recorded and all pre-done. And hey, look, we've got the canned animation sequence. There's Voltron forming again. We got this canned animation sequence. There are the Transformers transforming again. And here's a canned animation sequence. Lion-O's pulling out that motherfucking sword. It was just, thankfully, a lot of that stuff started going to the wayside.
I loved a cartoon called Bionic 6.
A lot of canned animation in that one.
Yes, it was. But the thing about it is, again, everything was described in the theme song when it came on.
Well, I'm probably going to get killed for this one, but Captain Planet. I mean, how many times do they have to recycle animation on that one? I mean, seriously. I mean, and even the dinosaurs. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Denver the Last Dinosaur. Widget the World Watcher. Those lame cartoons. But at least they had some substance to them.
They tried. They tried. The thing that I think was most unforgivable about
the Barbarian.
Yeah, I think the thing that was most unforgivable about most of the older cartoons was that there were a lot of them that seemed to have like some sort of long-standing continuity or story arc that just disappeared, gone. Yeah. Dungeons and Dragons, we mentioned earlier before.
Another good one.
Water.
Another good one. Another good one is. I'm sorry. What did you say?
Yeah, Pirates of Dark Water, man. That pissed me. Because the thing about it is, one thing I hated is you'll be watching your lineup of cartoons, and next thing you know, it's interrupted by the wide world of sports. Your favorite cartoon is about to come on, and next thing you know, they're about to show some fucking golf. Fuck.
One thing too is about continuity is Scooby-Doo.
That has continuity?
Huh? What'd you say?
Scooby-Doo has continuity to it?
Well, there is one. 9 out of 10 times the case is easily solved. Simply, that's the first person that they meet is the person that's doing all the villainy.
One thing about Scooby-Doo that I gotta give credit is the
I'm talking about old school Scooby-Doo, man. I'm talking about like the 70s Scooby-Doo.
That's what I'm saying. The superstars that they had on the show.
Oh, yeah.
They've had Don Knotts. They had the Globetrotters. They've even had Batman and Robin.
Yep.
Phyllis Diller's been on Scooby-Doo. They've had actual people guest star on Scooby-Doo.
They definitely had Adam West.
Yep. Yeah. It's
But,
just.
I mean, it's really sad that, you know, what we've done for the last video and this part of the video is that we named certain cartoons that have influenced us throughout the years and come to a point where it reached pinnacle, you know, mid-90s. Then all of a sudden, you know, like the Reverend said, the FCC got involved and all that shit. And it's, you can tell, you can see when the FFC got involved. I mean,
there's some
literally
very
draw a line,
yeah.
a pie chart or a fucking bar graph, and you could tell exactly when the FFC got involved, and it's been shit ever since.
Yeah. The thing about the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, is that it wasn't so much that they went ahead and applied all of this legislation and regulations to everybody, but at the end of the 90s, toward the turn of the century, they were fine happy. They were fining people left and right. Yeah. One of the biggest fines was a $24 million fine that they levied on Univision for a show called let's see here. It was called Cómplices el Rescate, which translates roughly into Friends to the Rescue. And their whole thing was like, you guys are saying that this is an educational show, but all it is basically the Spanish version of The Parent Trap. And it was like, they were like, you're not fulfilling that 20% quota of educational requirement. And they fined them $24 million for that. They fined Pokemon. They fined Yu-Gi-Oh! Because they were like, oh, all these things are episode-long commercials for fucking games and products, you know? Not to mention the fact that you had other programs out there like the fucking Teletubbies or fucking, you know, what's his name? The dinosaur. What's his name? Barney, the fucking purple dinosaur.
No.
All right. Where all they were for, yeah, you know, all they were for a lot of them was, you know, marketing tools to sit there and get their parents to fucking buy this bullshit fucking merchandise for their kids. You know, look, we understand their kids, there's a demographic that you're going for. It doesn't matter if it's sports, if it's news, or if it's children's programming or something like that. We understand that you're going to be actively marketing and advertising certain things to these people, and advertisers are going to jump on, and they're going to want to go ahead and grab onto that. So why the hell are you going to sit there and say, oh, well, you got a video game called Pokemon, we're going to fine you $5 million for having Mon show up on a fucking Game Boy fucking commercial that isn't even attached to the fucking cartoon? Or, oh, we're going to fine Yu-Gi-Oh! Like $10 million for going ahead and advertising, you know, running a commercial that advertises the Yu-Gi-Oh! Fucking card game during the fucking show.
Look,
you
know? Warner Brothers did it great with Animaniacs and Tiny Toon Adventures. I mean, those two cartoons were at the pinnacle of the FCC starting to crack down. And they're like, so Animaniacs was like, okay, fine. What we'll do is we'll educate the kids as you know, as the cartoon moves on. And it was actually you were learning and you're not realizing you're learning. I mean, how many people, just like the Wacko's World, United States, Canada, Panama, Jamaica, Haiti, Peru, you're sitting there. Look, let me tell you a real quick story. I was sitting in geography. Everybody took geography. That was a required thing to get through high school. So I was sitting there, and my geography teacher gave us the map because we had to do the map, the countries of the world. So I was sitting there at my desk, and I was going, United States, Canada, Panama, Jamaica, Haiti, Peru, you know, like that. And everybody was looking at me like, yeah. I was like, yeah. It's like, and then the teacher was like, wow, how did you, you know, they didn't know that he didn't know about the Animaniacs. But I mean, yes, it was educational, just like Yakko's or not Yakko's. Who was it? Wacko's states. You know, they had that song about the states and the capitals. And the reason why they put that into the cartoons was directly because of the FCC. That required them to have education in their cartoons.
There was also another caveat to that with those particular cartoons, because they're really kind of the exception to the rule, is that at the time that Warner Brothers was setting everything up, like I said, they had the backing of somebody big in Hollywood, Steven Spielberg, going ahead and pushing production money. Not only that, but the studio heads at Warner Brothers, not only at Warner Brothers, but also at Fox at the time, sat there and told the guys who were making the show, hey, look, we know this is kind of an odd, out-of-the-way thing. Just make it as best you can. And they weren't laden with the constant focus groups or having to talk about, oh, we have the anti-bullying people to talk about. We have this education commission to talk about. We have this commercial lawyers to talk about, and having to sit there and meet all those things. I mean, if you remember, the Fox TV lineup that included Animaniacs, the X-Men,
oh yeah,
Batman the Animated Series, and the fucking Power Rangers. There is a whole generation of kids who remember fondly that 2 fucking hours that started at 3 o'clock when you arrived home from school, or when you ran your ass home from school.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We forgot, that's another thing. We forgot about certain, like Spider-Man, X-Men. You guys are gonna probably kill me for this one. Here come the littles.
But I mean, the thing about that is that
the Rugrats. What are you talking about?
Well, the Rugrats is attached to Nickelodeon and cable.
No, I'm just saying, Rugrats cartoon.
Yeah, which has its own exceptions to like what the FCC was going on. But to think that there was this whole block of shows just for kids that wasn't pandering to the fact that these were little fucking kids watching them. That were also smart enough for adults to fucking watch.
Yeah, exactly.
It was goddamn incredible to consider.
Well, I mean, look,
it's incredible to consider now.
Look at the Disney afternoon. I mean, they had DuckTales, Tailspin, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, what do you call it? Darkwing Duck, Tailspin.
Gargoyles.
Okay, that brings
Gargoyles.
You know, in the short time that we have left, that brings me up to a different, a related but different topic. Cartoon remakes. Because a few videos ago, we went ahead and we did our review on Voltron Legendary Defender, a remake of the original Voltron, or at least Lion Force Voltron, that DreamWorks and Netflix went ahead and put out.
Yes.
It was announced just recently that Disney is going to go ahead and do a remake of The Lion King.
Yes.
In the vein of The Jungle Book. The only thing that I can sit there and say is that, look, Jeremy Irons and James Earl Jones are still alive. Get those motherfuckers under lock and key and do that.
Look, The Jungle Book, I just that. In fact, I watched it over at the Reverend's house, and I was dumbfounded. I thought it was one of the greatest. I was like, that is how you do a remake. It's just plain and simple. It was spot on to today's, and I was like, yes. And then I just recently read that Lion King. I was like, get James Earl Jones in there. Yes, do it right.
No. What do you think about it, Theme?
Thinking about other cartoons like Plastic Man.
What about Snorkels?
Even Pound Puppies had a cartoon.
Oh my God! Wait, what were those things called? Pound Puppies?
Inch High Private Eye.
Oh my God.
What do you call private eyes? Dicks. Inch High Dick.
What about the Pound Puppies cartoon?
Ah.
I'm just saying. I mean, Teddy Ruxpin had a fucking cartoon.
Teddy Ruxpin. Wait. What?
They had a cartoon. It had a cartoon. Teddy Ruxpin had a cartoon.
You know, there's a horrible drawback to sitting there and going back over this nostalgic stuff, and part of that is this. I have now got the Monchichi fucking theme song in my head.
No.
Shirt tails.
What?
Give me the shirt tails. Yes. Give me the motherfucking shirt tails any fucking day. Damn it. Fuck you guys. I love shirt tails.
I've just got this song stuck in my head. It's fucking horrible.
I was like, what is this? Shirt tails. I was like, okay. All right, fine. Challenge of the Super Friends.
Oh,
Aquaman flying in on riding two flying or fucking seahorse.
You know what? I'll even say SpongeBob SquarePants. I mean, if you really watch that cartoon, it's not really a cartoon aimed at kids. If you really watch it, it has a lot of silver lining adults.
But that goes on the contrast of Nickelodeon.
Correct.
And that was...
SpongeBob can't carry the fucking litter box of fucking Snippy.
I was going to say Ren and Stimpy. I was going to say Ren and Stimpy.
No.
Ren and Stimpy. Yes.
Two Stupid Dogs. Two Stupid Dogs. The cartoon name was Two Stupid Dogs. My Lord.
Some people like Doug.
Wait, which version? Nick or Disney's?
I
There's
don't know.
two. Yes. Disney bought that shit, and next thing you know, they called it Disney's Doug, and it sucked.
Then I'm talking about the original Doug.
Okay. Doug Funny, all right. That had substance. But Disney's Doug, oh my God, they ruined it.
There's other things that have gotten ruined, especially recently. One of my favorite cartoons ever is the Powerpuff Girls. In fact, I've been running around with a little Mojo Jojo figure hanging ever since 1998.
Hey,
He's been on my keychain. Okay.
all I gotta say is this: him.
Yeah. Well, no. I know.
I mean, he doesn't even have a name. His name is him.
I know about Mojo. I know about him, but the thing about Mojo Jojo is that I think he's probably one of the best cartoon villains. Not the best, but one of.
One of, yeah.
I like Mandark. I'm sorry, dude. Ha ha ha.
Well, here's the thing about Mandark. He doesn't have to worry about being remade into a fucking shell of his former fucking self.
They can't remake those. That Johnny Bravo, no. They're not going to touch those.
I mean,
what the Reverend is saying is that
they molested the Powerpuff Girls. What happened? Okay, and the silly thing about it is that we've mentioned cartoons or anime coming in from outside of America. Okay, when other countries take our shit and adapt it, it can be just as ugly as if we take their stuff and adapt it. Because if you've ever sat down and watched the any anime episodes of Powerpuff Girls Z,
yeah,
god awful.
Look,
that's all I got.
Speaking of villains, I have to say Aku is up there too, man.
When is Samurai Jack back?
Not yet. I know the project's been in the making, but he hasn't come back officially just yet. In fact, that's probably something that we can sit there and Google up.
Definitely, definitely seeing that. But
come on, man, Aku.
Yeah.
Aku is great. You know, it's just kind of hard. They're going to have to find somebody with a suitable voice.
Unfortunately, the voice actor died.
Yeah, Mako is no longer around. You know, and you know, before we go ahead and spill into a part 3 of this, really, this is one of the types of things that
we're gonna have to revisit this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we will. But for this particular video, we're gonna have to go ahead and end it at this time. So, if you're so kind, hit the subscribe button, hit like, leave us a comment below. We are the Middle-Aged Guys, and we've been bullshitting about cartoons for the last 40 minutes. I am the Reverend.
The theme here.
Graymouse 1.
Oh, God. Captain N, the Game Master.
It's all about Mother Brain.
Oh. No.
Simon Belmont.
No.
The Game Boy.
Didn't Big Doug have a cartoon at one point?
Go ahead and close us out, theme.
Credits.